The two arrived at the house where Krug believed Nadim was waiting for him. They got out of the car, a woman opened the front door, and Krug went in. Oded was behind him, and the door closed, with Oded, as planned, outside. Remaining outside, read poorly. Three other operatives were waiting inside the room. They stunned Krug with a few blows, gagged him, and tied him up. When he came to, he was examined by a French Jewish doctor recruited by the team. He thought Krug was suffering from slight shock and therefore recommended not giving him sedation shots. A German-speaking Mossad operative told him, "You are a prisoner. Do exactly what we say or we'll finish you off." Krug promised to obey. And he was placed inside a secret room compartment built in one of the vehicles, a Volkswagen camper, and the whole squad, including Isser Harel himself, who was present throughout, set out for the French border, in that car and two others. On the way they stopped in a forest, and Harel told Krug that they were about to cross the border, and if he made a sound, the driver of the car would activate a mechanism that would pump a lethal amount of poison gas into the compartment. When they reached Marseille, a heavily sedated Krug was placed on an El Al plane, flying Jewish North African immigrants to Israel. The Mossad handlers told the French authorities he was a sick immigrant. At the same time, the Mossad launched a wide-ranging disinformation operation with a man resembling Krug and carrying documents in his name traveling around South America, leaving a paper trail that indicated Krug had simply grabbed the money and run away from Egypt and his collaborators. Simultaneously, the Mossad leaked disinformation to the media, saying that Krug had quarreled with General Khalil and his people had apparently been abducted and murdered by them. In Israel, Krug was imprisoned in a secret Mossad installation and subjected to harsh interrogation. At first he remained silent, but soon he began cooperating, and over the course of several months, he yielded much fruit, according to a Mossad report. The man had a good memory, and he knew all the organizational, administrative details of the missile project. The documents that were in his briefcase were also useful, the report concluded. This data made it possible to build up an intelligence encyclopedia. Krug even volunteered to go back to Munich and work as a Mossad agent there. Eventually, though, after it seemed to the interrogators that Krug had told them everything he knew, the Mossad pondered what to do with him. It was clear that complying with his offer to go back to Munich would be very dangerous. Krug could betray his new controllers, go to the police, and tell them how the Israelis had abducted a German citizen on German soil. Harel chose the easier way out. He ordered SG, one of his men, to take Krug to a deserted spot north of Tel Aviv and shoot him. An Air Force plane picked up the body and dumped it into the sea. Kind of a modus operandi there. The success of the Krug operation spurred Ben-Gurion to give a green light to more and more targeted killing operations. He approved the use of military intelligence, Amman, Unit 188, a secret operational outfit that put Israeli soldiers under false cover deep inside enemy countries. The unit's command was located in the Sarona compound in Tel Aviv, not far from Ben-Gurion's office, and it had a training facility on the beach in North Tel Aviv, adjoining Natan Rotberg's Special Demolitions Lab. Isser Harel resented Unit 188. Since the mid-1950s, he had been trying to persuade Ben-Gurion to transfer it to the Mossad, or at least to put him in charge of it. But with the army vehemently opposed, Ben-Gurion turned him down. The head of Amman, Major General Mir Amit, didn't believe that the German scientists were as grave a threat to Israel as Harel did. However, because of the interrogation, interrogational. What the fuck kind of word is that? So it's interrogation, but it's like interorganizational. All right. you didn't need to use that word. You wanted to use that word. That's what happened. However, because of the interorganizational rivalry with the Mossad, he demanded that his Unit 188 be permitted to act against them, because, as he put it, we must not ignore it. We must nip this matter in the bud. Thus, intense competition over who would kill more Germans began between Unit 188 and the Mossad. During that time, 188 had a veteran operative under deep cover in Egypt. Wolfgang Lutz was the perfect mole, the son of a Gentile father and a Jewish mother. He was uncircumcised and looked like a typical German. He built up a cover story as a former Weimar officer in Rommel's Afrika Korps, who had become a horse breeder and returned to Egypt to start a stud farm. Within a short time, Lutz, a gifted actor, had become an integral part of the growing German social circle in Cairo. He supplied 188 with many details about the missile projects and its personnel. He could not, however, take it upon himself to eliminate them in actions that would require his direct participation, for fear that he would be exposed. The head of Unit 188, Josef Yariv, reached the conclusion that the best way to do away with the German scientist would be to use letter and parcel bombs. Yariv ordered Noten Rotberg to start preparing the bombs. As it happened, Rotberg was working on a new type of explosive, thin, flexible data sheet. Sheets of explosive material developed for civilian purposes, which were meant to fuse two pieces of steel when they went off. This would allow him to make more compact charges. We had to develop a system that could be kept unarmed and safe during all the shuffling that a letter goes through in the mail system, then go off at the right time, Rotberg explained. The envelope's mechanism thus worked in such a way that the bomb was not armed when it was opened. That the bomb was armed not when it was opened, which would make the whole thing a very explosive, but only when the contents were drawn out. The R&D was done in collaboration with French intelligence in exchange for information conveyed by Lutz about the activities of the Algerian National Liberation Front, underground in Cairo. Unit 188 also helped the French smuggle explosives into Cairo to be used in assassinating FLN members there. The first target to be sent one of the new letter bombs was Alois Brunner, an absconded Nazi war criminal who had been a deputy of Adolf Eichmann and served as commander of a concentration camp in France, sending 130,000 Jews to their deaths. Unit 188 located him in Damascus, where he'd been living for 8 years under an assumed name. The Arab countries gave asylum to more than a few Nazi war criminals, and in exchange they received various services. Brunner helped train the interrogation and torture units of the Syrian secret services. He was found with the help of Eli Cohen, one of the unit's top agents, who was active inside the higher echelons of the Syrian defense establishment. After Ben-Gurion gave his approval for the elimination of Brunner, Yariv decided to try out one of Rotberg's data sheets devices on the Nazi. "We sent him a little gift," said Rotberg. It's like 3 names from 3 different continents on there. Whatever. On September 13th, 1962, Brunner received a large envelope. We should just do the whole thing in American, huh? Brunner received a large envelope in Damascus. It exploded after he opened it. He suffered severe facial injuries and lost his left eye, but survived. Still, encouraged by having gotten the bomb delivered to the target, Unit 188 was eager to use the same method against the German scientist. The Mossad objected. As Rafi Eaton explained, "I oppose any action I don't control. The mailman can open the envelope. A child can open the envelope. Who does things like that?" Wow. Was that reason? And getting to the Germans in Egypt turned out to be a very complicated matter, because they didn't receive their mail directly. Egyptian intelligence collected all the mail for the project and its personnel at the offices of Egypt Air, where it was then sent on to Cairo. Thus, it was decided to break into airline offices during the night and place the envelopes into the mail bags. Using a new method for opening locks with a sophisticated master key developed by Mossad's workshops, Mossad operatives who were assisting Unit 188 gained entry to the Frankfurt offices of Egypt Air on November 16th. The break-in specialist was half hidden behind a woman operative as they leaned together against the door like a couple of lovers. The team entered the office but failed to find the mailbag. The next day, they tried again. While they were busy with the door, the janitor made an appearance, totally inebriated. Nice. There were no women with the team this time, so two of the men pretended to be homosexuals making out. Nice. And they managed to escape without arousing the suspicion of the drunken janitor. What a fucking mess. The next night, another attempt was made, and this time it went smoothly. The pouch of the mail to be sent to Egypt was on one of the desks. The team inserted... What a fucking mess. What a scene. The team inserted the booby-trapped envelopes into the bag. Pills had been selected as a prime target. The intelligence gathered around him indicated that he was divorcing his wife so he could wed his secretary, Harlon Wende. Sure, the wife lived in Berlin, but she had hired a lawyer from Hamburg. Told you I'd be doing this in American. Read poorly. The letter bomb targeting pills was thus designed to look as if it had come from that lawyer, with his logo and address appearing on the back. The planners of the project assumed that such a personal item of mail wouldn't be opened by Wende, and that she would give it to Pills himself, said the final report of the operation. But the planners were wrong. Wende, who received the letter on November 27th, presumably thought that it concerned her life as much as Pills'. She opened it, and it exploded in her hands, blowing off some of her fingers, blinding her in one eye, damaging the other, and blowing some of her teeth out of her gums. The Egyptian authorities immediately realized what was going on and located the other booby-trapped mail items with X-ray machines, then handed them over to be diffused and probed by specialists from Soviet intelligence in Cairo. The Cairo blasts frightened the scientists and their families, but didn't make any of them give up their cushy, well-paid jobs. Instead, Egyptian intelligence hired the services from an expert German security officer, a former SS man named Hermann Adolf Valentin. He visited the intra-offices and the project's various suppliers, advising them on security precautions, on placing the locks on their doors, and on securing their mail deliveries. He also began probing the backgrounds of certain employees. The next target on Harl's hit list was Dr. Hans Kleinwachter, I believe, and his laboratory in the town of Lorch, which had been hired to develop a guidance system for the missiles. Harl sent the birds, Tziphorim, Ziporim, to the Shin Bet's operational unit, which was also used by the Mossad. To Europe, with orders to... Oh, god damn, it's those stupid-ass hyphens again. And it's the whole fucking paragraph again. I hate this. Hey, who writes like this? 14. All right, this will be the last paragraph. The next target on Harl's hit list was Dr. Heinz Kleinwachter and his laboratory in the town of Lorch, which had been hired to develop a guidance system for the missiles. Harl sent the birds, or Ziporim, the Shin Bet's operational unit, which is also used by the Mossad, to Europe with orders to start planning Operation Hedgehog against Kleinwachter. Harl's orders were straightforward. Kleinwachter is to be abducted and brought to Israel, or if that doesn't work, kill him.